Happy hour, 5 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us. Thanks for hanging around with us. We're going to talk Cowboys-Bengals now. As, of course, that ball game comes up on Sunday at noon. We will have it for you on 99.3 Talk FM. Cowboys basically in a must-win situation for the final 4 games of this season. And with us right now on the APEC VIP hotline, cutting-edge training for the serious athlete, apecgo.com, the pride of Nacogdoches, Texas, and with the Dallas Morning News covering the Cowboys, Brandon George. How you doing, Brandon?
Hey, I'm doing well. I just got to say I love that happy hour. Big fan.
It's a great time of day, isn't it?
It is.
How's the family? How's the little one doing?
Hey, she's doing well. She's about 5 months old now, so we're just keeping Mama up a lot of nights. So she's letting me rest this time of year.
Oh, very, very good. I'm glad to hear that. All right, let's talk about these Cowboys. First things first, the offensive line. Nate Living's out of practice with a knee injury today. That's not good news when you start talking about having to deal with a guy like Geno Atkins on Sunday. What's the situation?
Well, he's got a right knee issue that's kind of been bothering him actually for a couple of weeks. It's kind of flared up on him in practice on Wednesday, so they held him out today. He left the practice field this morning with his right knee wrapped, and they're just kind of play it by ear from now to see how he reacts to treatment today and see if he can do something tomorrow and see if he'll be able to play. They're not real sure at this point, what his status will be. But it's definitely to lose him like this, late in the week is not a good sign for the Cowboys. They had Derek Dockery stepped up today with the first team. He had filled in some for Mackenzie Bernardo there at the right guard when he slid over to center when they had some injury issues. So Dockery was filling in for him today, and that's not a great sign because Dockery kind of struggled during his playing time for Bernardo. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get Living back. I know he wants to play, being a former Bengal.
Okay, and you mentioned Dockery. Also, I think, did I see that DeMarco Murray was very limited in practice as well?
He was limited, but they're just kind of being cautious with him. I mean, it's more about just kind of managing his sprained little foot injury. They're just basically playing it safe. He said yesterday that he's fine and the foot is fine, and they're just going to try to take it easy on him. They don't want to push him very much in practice and kind of let him really work that foot out during the game and not during the practice week.
We don't see the Bengals much around here, so give people a sense of just how good that defensive tackle Atkins is.
Well, he's really good. I mean, you look at their whole front four. I mean, and really their front seven. I mean, they're really good up front. I mean, you talk to the Cowboys. Romo was saying today that he thinks it's probably the best front four that he's seen all year, and that's saying a lot because they're facing some talented fronts with the NFC East team. So Romo's real high on them, and as far as their ability to rush the passer, they lead the NFL right now at 39 sacks, and a lot of it comes from their front seven there. And obviously Newman's having kind of a good year too. The former Cowboys played pretty well for them, and Pac-Man Jones on the other side. So their defense is really solid. So it's going to be a big challenge for the Cowboys on Sunday there in Cincinnati.
Mike Zimmer's really done a great job with that defense, hasn't he?
He really has. He had some success with the Cowboys, and he's really, like you said, done a great job with them. And the Cowboys have so much respect for him. Jason Garrett went on and on about just how much he's, learned from Mike Zimmer and how much respect for him he has. And I just think that, they really excelled. And getting Newman back with Zimmer, I think really helped, Newman a lot as well.
How do you explain that? Newman was left for dead in Dallas last year. Now the guy's having a good year.
Well, Newman on the conference call on Wednesday, we were talking to him. He talked a lot about his injuries. He wouldn't go into that last year, and he didn't make an excuse why he was here. But he came out and said he had some toe injuries, some other injuries that bothered him throughout the year, and he's just finally been 100% healthy, for a change, and it's really helped him a lot. And but Stephen Jones said, they were to a point where they needed to move on. They didn't feel like Newman fit very well with more of a man-to-man scheme, and his age was starting to catch up to him a little bit. And they wanted to get younger guys in here that had a higher upside, and that's when they went out and got Brandon Carr and Morris Claiborne. They feel like those guys have an upside when Newman was on the kind of the downside of his career.
And on the other side, Pac-Man Jones running his mouth today. He didn't have a lot nice to say about the Cowboys, didn't sound like.
Yeah, he said they had horrible coaching when he was here and that kind of thing, which I guess, he's probably right in some regard there. So, but not a lot of good things to say there. But kind of what you expect from that guy.
Okay, and so then the talk from some of the very few team leaders that the Cowboys have is that they really feel like they've got to win these Final Four to make the playoffs. First of all, who's saying that, and then secondly, how realistic is that?
Well, most of the players are saying that. You heard that today from Jason Witten. He was emphasizing that they really the Cowboys need to win out and really put themselves in a position to make the playoffs. They feel like they need to win out and that'll get them to 10 wins and 10-6. And you look at the race right now, the Giants obviously a game ahead, and really the Redskins have the tiebreaker over the Cowboys, and so it's going to be a challenge for them because the Redskins have an easier schedule than the Cowboys do, and it's going to be a challenge for them to pass the Redskins. So they could come down to that last game of the season there, at Washington on December 30th. So. But you definitely can't count the Giants out. They've proven they can win some big games, especially on the road late in the season. So I really still think they're really the team to beat, even though the Cowboys and Redskins really have a tiebreaker advantage over both of them right now.
We're talking about the Cowboys winning 4 games in a row. It's something they haven't done in I don't know when, and December has been an awful month for the Cowboys historically for the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, so what is there that makes you believe that there could even be a possibility they could pull that off?
Well, you really look at it, and right now you would say, if you want to look at it, be an optimist, you'd say obviously the offense is playing a lot better right now. Dez Bryant's coming on. Romo's playing at his best. He's really been phenomenal in the last 5 games. You get DeMarco Murray back. It's going to help them a lot. Really, the big thing for them is if the defense can survive. I mean, you have when you count Ratliff, you have really 5 defensive starters that are out, and so can they survive all these injuries and try to keep the team in the game? And I don't know that they can when you look at these teams they're going to play. Obviously, New Orleans is going to present a lot of problems with their offense, and you saw what RG3 did against them. And Pittsburgh's obviously Ben Roethlisberger's supposed to play this weekend. He's going to be back for that game. So it's definitely going to be a tough test coming up in the next few weeks for the Cowboys.
Saw your column this morning in the Dallas Morning News. You were writing about Tony Romo giving the Cowboys a reason to re-sign him. Was there ever? I mean, he's played great football, and it's been pretty amazing when you think about the state of chaos that the offensive line has been in all season long, that he's played his best football here at a time when you'd think he'd be worn down physically from running for his life all year.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier. You look at his first 7 games, he completed I think 65% of his passes, and he had nine touchdowns with 13 interceptions, and he was sacked 13 times during that time. And you look at the last 5 games, he was sacked 15 times, 2 more times. And despite the more pressure, he's completing 69% of his passes, and he has 10 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. So these last 5 games, and you look, he's on a stretch right now where he's got 3 consecutive games with over 300 yards passing, 5 of his last 6. So it's been remarkable just how well he has played. In that last game especially, obviously, I mean, he was perfect in the second half. He didn't have an incompletion. He had his highest quarterback rating in his career was over 150. I mean, he's just really played well right now. And I say you gave him a reason to re-sign him. The Cowboys really want to re-sign him. They wanted to re-sign him before the year started.
Sure.
So it just kind of emphasizing that here's a guy, obviously still has a lot left, and I think it just kind of further emphasizes they're going to, continue to push to re-sign him once the season is over. Now,
I get a lot of my listeners who will ask the question, but why would he want to re-sign with Dallas? I mean, is there any doubt that he would re-sign with Dallas?
Well, that's a question someone threw out the other day, and I think when you look at it, that really he's going to be worth more to the Cowboys and than any other team. I mean, he's obviously knows this system well. He's played well here. He's probably going to get more money here, and plus, you go to another team, you're in a new situation. I think you'll have a much shorter leash. Jerry Jones has shown how much support he has for Tony. He knows that he has a lot of support here as far as internally. And I think that it would be risky for him to make a jump this late in his career to another team to start over and be in a situation where if you do struggle, they can pull you a lot quicker than they probably pull him here in Dallas.
I saw a report here just a few minutes ago that Alex Spanos with the Chargers is probably has already made the decision. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but it's out of San Diego that he's decided to fire both the general manager and Norv Turner, the coach. Do you see any scenario where Jerry would try to talk Norv into coming in and running his offense?
I would think that would be not likely, just when you consider that Jason Garrett, I mean, he really likes to be the play caller here. He really wants to control the offense. He likes to be involved in that side of the ball. That was kind of, he did that before he became the head coach. And I just think I've always been under the concession that if they do bring in an offensive coordinator, I think it's that much closer to the reality that his time will be shorter in Dallas. So if that move was ever made and they took the play calling responsibility away from Jason, I think that would be kind of like one foot out the door for him. And I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're at that point yet, especially when the way the offense has played a lot better here in the last 5 games. I can't foresee that happening.
How secure should Rob Ryan feel right now?
Well, that's a good question. A lot of people ask, could this guy become a head coach in the NFL? And that was something that came up last year before December. His name was popping up everywhere. And then all of a sudden, the Cowboys really struggled, last month of the season with their defense, and he didn't get a phone call in the offseason. So now his defense again is struggling in this last month here, and but he obviously they do have a lot of injury problems. I mean, they had 4 guys with season-ending injuries, and that hasn't happened, I think, since I believe it was 2001 the last time it happened. So it's been a long time, and I think that when you look at Rob's performance, I think the defense has been pretty consistent all year except for the last couple of weeks. I think they've been in the top 10 all year. The big thing with them is they just haven't been able to force turnovers, and that's obviously a concern, especially when you add a Brandon Carr and Morris Claiborne type that you thought was going to be able to go get the ball and make some big plays there. I think they really felt like they'd have more turnovers at this point. So, I think Rob will be back at defensive coordinator. I don't think the teams are going to pursue him as a head coach possibility just because the defense has faded here again, but I think he's done enough to come back with the Cowboys.
Brandon George from the Dallas Morning News on Brian Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM. You're around the team all the time. Tell me what you see as being the difference in Dez Bryant over these last 6 weeks, say.
Well, when we talk to players and read between the lines, a lot of it has. I think that they've really kind of narrowed what he's doing as far as his route running. They've tried to really focus in on what he does best and kind of letting him run those kind of routes more per se than running multiple routes all the time. And I think that one thing that it's not that I don't think you can say, okay, well, Dez is much more mature in the last month, or he's grown up that much in the last month. I don't think that's it at all. I mean, I just think that it's kind of finally coming together for him as far as his ability on the football field and him just getting things taken care of in his personal life. I think it's really cleared his head a lot, and I think he's just been able to really go out and play football, and they're really letting him be more of an athlete. They're taking chances when he's in tight coverage. Sometimes Romo would going away from him earlier in his career. That he's really throwing it to him, and you're seeing Dez make catches when there's tight coverage on him, and he's showing his physical ability. And I think that the combination of all that, really helps him just really kind of blow up in these last few games.
At the same time, a guy like Doug Free, it's just unexplainable why he's having such a difficult time now. But how much time is Jeremy Parnell getting in practice now?
Well, he's getting about the same amount of time at this point. You could probably see him getting a little more time if Free continues to struggle here late in the year. But, they're paying him way too much money right now to bench him. I don't think that you would see that happen, at least toward this season. If you bench that guy, you really take whatever confidence he has left is pretty much gone, and then you wonder if you can get it back at all. And you're still, the next 2 years is a double-digit salary cap hit, and I don't think they're ready to make that move yet. I think they'll see how he plays the remainder of this season. One thing, when you talk about Free, I really think, I wonder how much that his ability just to process what Bill Callahan was trying to do. Callahan's kind of a technician, more new offensive line coach, comes in, and he's really technical. You talk to him in training camp. He's really detail-oriented. I wonder if he's, thinking a lot, thinking a little bit too much, trying to be too perfect with his technique at times and things. I wonder how much that's really influenced him. Doug talked a couple of weeks ago, and he wouldn't say that that's been a problem, but you wonder sometimes if he's kind of thinking too much a lot of times, just not being physical and playing physical up front and reacting, instead of thinking about things a little bit too much.
So maybe Callahan's been a problem instead of an asset for the Cowboys this year.
Well, I think that the change You could say on that side, the way he's so technical with things and the way he likes things, you may say, Doug, you need to drop 12 inches with your right foot and stuff like that. He's that kind of that technical when he speaks about offensive line play and stuff. He's very precise, and I wonder sometimes if it's a little bit too much for some of these offensive linemen in the grand scheme of things. So it's a question that is, I think, fair to ask, but at the same time, Free has to be responsible for his play. Obviously, I'm not trying to make excuses for him. He really needs to play better, and he has said that he needs to play better. But the inconsistent play has been quite remarkable. He played pretty solid against Washington. In the game before that, he gave us 3 sacks against Cleveland. He comes back, against Philadelphia and struggles, has a terrible first half, leads the NFL in penalties. So, you can say all you want about if he's thinking too much, but at the end of the day, he's got to play better. He's getting paid $8 million a year for a reason.
Yeah. One last question. Anthony Spencer, what do you see happening in his future now? Do you think the Cowboys try to break the bank and re-sign him?
They're definitely going to try to re-sign him. I think he's been really good this season. Maybe the defensive MVP on this team, and they're going to make a run at it. The question is if they can afford him. They have obviously a tight salary cap situation. I think they have pretty much maxed out on salary cap. They're going to have to really try to rework some contracts and see if they have enough money to get Spencer. Because he could command $9 to $10 million a year. He definitely wants a long-term contract. The Cowboys could come back and maybe try to use a franchise tag on him. But you're looking at still at $9 to $10 million for one more season. So he wants a long-term deal. The Cowboys would love to give him a long-term deal. It's just a matter if they can meet in the middle somewhere.
Cowboys win this Sunday?
I'm picking against them this Sunday. I hate to say it, but, I really think the Bengals team's won 4 in a row. I think they're playing their best football of the year, and they're at home. And I just feel like it's going to be a real struggle for the Cowboys defense to stop them. And then you look at the Bengals front four there. I think it's going to be a big issue for the Cowboys offensive line and struggled, obviously, last few weeks.
It has not been a pretty year so far. Brandon, great talking to you, man. Thanks very much for coming on with us.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Good talking to you. Brandon George from the Dallas Morning News on Brian Houston Sports Radio Live.